right. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes to get with us. This is another live Q&A. Appreciate your patience with us. We had to cancel last week. I was a little under the weather, but we're back with the land of the living, so ready to go tonight. A couple of our questions tonight pertain to younger children, but I do have a story to share with you that'll pertain to everyone, so hang in there with us even if your children are a little bit older. And that's one thing to remember too, even if your kids are older, a lot of this stuff applies because maybe you might be stuck and still doing some of the things that parents of younger children are doing, and you just need to kind of get over that hump. So just kind of take, from it, because remember, what we advocate is an attitude. It's a point of view in your parenting. It is a presence, how you present yourself, and that leadership authority. So it's really all about that, and not so much about the means and the methods kind of thing. So, all right, we're going to go ahead tonight and get started. The first question we had, and I got to tell you, I cracked up, and if you are a regular follower of our page, you would have seen we had a question about 2-year-olds. I need my 2-year-old. That's always the big thing. And someone followed it up and said, yeah, isn't that when you said they become our minions? And I have laughed about that for the last 2 days. Where that comes from is, of course, John Roseman, if you are familiar with him, he always tells, the story, the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds kind of thing. I tend to think 3s are worse than 2s myself, but you put them to bed and they're just these angelic children, and maybe you haven't had any ripples yet, whatever, and it's just going smooth, whatever. Typically true with your first child, not so much your second. I always say if you had your second child first, you'd have never had your first, but whatever. And then it's almost like they wake up from nap, this demon spawn of Satan. So somehow that got translated into they become our minions kind of thing. Not quite so much, but yeah, along the same line. They do become these little demon-possessed beings, That's just how they, you never know what they're going to do or what they're going to say and what's going to set them off. And it could be something as silly as their tongue is pink. I saw that today. So yes, it is a trying time. Is there something I can tell you that you can do that will make it stop when they throw out in the floor, or when they hit, or they hurl that truck, or they don't want the red cup, they want the blue cup? No, I can't. You are experiencing everything that a parent of a 2-year-old has ever experienced from the beginning of time, I do believe, minus the red and blue cups. The thing to remember, and we've talked about this before with children that young, and 3s become a little bit more trying, and I think it's because they are more aware of their surroundings. So you have this new, enlightenment that they have about what's going on around them. They are more aware of dangers / adventures, depending on the child that you have, however they interpret those. And they're also becoming more aware, whether they like it or not, and they're not going to verbalize that they're capable of doing more. And your expectation of what you want them to do as opposed to what you're still willing to do for them, which, by the way, you should be totally backing off on some of that. And even if they are the baby of the family, you need to back off. I get it. It's a mama's heart thing, and they're the youngest, and they're my, whatever, but you got to step back or you're going to be crazy. And they're kind of accustomed to you doing all those things. They like you doing that. And we've talked about this many, many times. So yeah, it only makes sense. And we get very, especially women, we get very emotional about this, and we just get so high strung and drama and, whatever. But that makes sense. If you think about it, they don't like it. They know they can. It's new. There's change. Nobody likes change, right? I mean, change is inevitable. And so you're going to be met. So the best thing for you to do is remain consistent in your expectation, consistent in what you want for your child. Again, always thinking ahead. What do you want for this child when they're, in elementary school? What do you want when they're, high school? What do you want for them when they're 30? How do you want them to progress? That doesn't just happen. They are not just going to wake up on their 3rd or 4th birthday and know these things if you are not consistent now. So yes, emotionally, especially for women, that is a very difficult time to transition from, this sweet baby, because they're losing that baby fat, and, they're starting to get to the point where they'll pronounce words correctly. For us, it was the most heartbreaking thing was when my daughter quit calling Elmo Bobo, and she said Elmo. And so I get it. I've been there. And, you want to hang on to those moments, but you need to cherish those moments, but you need to do right by your child by continuing to move forward and be consistent and allow them to grow, allow them to do on their own, allow them to be frustrated, allow them to try it on their own. Quit being such control freaks and doing everything for them because it's faster and it's easier. You're going to have those moments where you're just losing your stuff and you got to get out the door kind of thing. I get it. However, know that when we have those moments, we're taking a couple of steps back. So it's going to happen. Resolve to that, but start letting them do more. Start letting them learn how to put their shoes on, to brush their teeth, to feed themselves, to dress themselves. And they're not just going to know how to do that. Don't feel the need to constantly entertain them either. And be consistent if you don't want them to do it tomorrow, then it's not okay to do today. Don't parent in the moment. Parent for the long term. You have to think ahead. And if you are parenting just to get through the day, then you will forever be getting through the day. So, think about what you want for them. Again, if it's not going to be okay for them to hurl a truck tomorrow, then it can't be okay for them to hurl a truck across the room today. The other thing is you are having to probably, interject more, let's just say harsh tones for the lack of a better word, that no. And you need to work on this area right here. This is your best tool, your best asset. And don't be offended. Don't project adult characteristics onto your 2 and 3 year old, especially, 2-year-old, and even, younger than that, 1.5, whatever. When you are, laying down the law and you're trying to, if you have one of those that wants to try and, smack you in the face or bite your shoulder, it's not just kissing, by the way. They're not just kissing you, they're biting. You need to stop that. So when you do that and it's, one of those and you take their little hand and and they laugh, don't misinterpret that. You need to continue with, your firm tone of voice, your posture, your leadership, and your reserve to, get them to understand that's unacceptable behavior. They're laughing because your voice has changed. They're used to, hey, baby, and the very sweet mommy, whatever. So when your face changes, and children at a very young age really focus on facial features first. That's one of the first things that baby will focus on is the features of the face. That's why they mimic you. That's why an infant, when you're doing and you do that and they do it back, that's because that's one of the first things to develop. So they focused on that for so much of their little life so far, and now it's changed and it sounds different. So their reaction to that is a giggle, like, oh, that's something new. But the more you do that and the more consistent you are with unacceptable behavior and your reaction to it and what they will begin to learn. Again, they're not just going to know that the first time it happens. They are not just going to wake up and know, whatever. Yeah, Catherine says the mean mug. You got a mean mug because they'll mean mug you too, right? So you've got to stay on top of that kind of thing. So don't let your little minions run you over. You'll get there, but it's just consistent, and just like every stage, every month prior to this, it's going to go by in a blink. So you want to make sure that the coming years, the more consistent you are, the earlier on, you're going to have so much fun. I mean, parenting should totally be something that, like, man, this rocks. This is so much fun. And you're going to have trials. You're going to have things that come up and challenges. And shoot, even my own. Andrea and I have conversations all the time. And, our joke is I couldn't wear the T-shirt today because we have T-shirts that say, are you happily parenting? And some days we can't wear those T-shirts because we're not happy. But, you can still be joyful, but those need to be your exceptions. You need to be so stinking predictable with your children that, they get it early and they quit trying, and your moments of challenge are few and far between. So that's that. The next question we had was advice on flying with a 9-month-old. My first thought was don't, but that's not always an option. I get that. I understand. Honestly, I can't tell you what's going to work and what's not going to work. You never know how a child's going to react in that kind of environment. As adults, you don't know until you go up in an airplane for the first time. You may have, the baby their ears may bother them. I mean, adults have, ear. You've got cabin pressure, you've got a crowd of people, you've got this stale air, depending on how long your flight is. Are they going to get a stuffy nose? Are they going to have, whatever? Is it going to be overstimulating for them? And, I'm not really one to get into labels and, all that kind of mess, but that is really true. And that's a lot. And, it's a lot for a lot of adults. So that is one of those moments that is, it's unpredictable. It's the exception to your normal everyday parenting adventures, and so to speak. The only thing I could tell you is if you're capable, if it's an option, maybe buy an extra seat so you have a little bit of extra room there, and have something for them to do. If you can interject their bedtime routine into that, maybe whatever you do, if you read a book, if they have a bottle, if they, whatever it is, and this is true for older, and I see we've got a question, flying with a 5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. Anything that's going to be a little bit easier, but anything that you can interject that would get them into that sleepy, but again, know that they are so far, this is such a new environment that there's no way to really know what's going to go. It could go wonderfully. It could be a nightmare, kind of thing. Just be prepared. Make sure, you have everything else taken care of. Be on your game. Be organized in every other aspect. Things that you do know as an adult that you need to attend to before taking a flight, making your connections, your luggage, whatever, anything that you can go ahead and take care of and just be Johnny on it ahead of time so that you don't have that in addition to the potential of a fussy child. You got people that bribe the rest of the flight, with candy and treats, whatever. I mean, make it a parade, make it rain candy as you go down the aisle. I don't know, something. But just be aware. Don't be thrown, just like anything else with parenting. If you expect it and it doesn't happen, great. If you expect it and it does, you're not going to get as emotional about it because you're prepared and you're ready to deal with it. And, where hopefully, you're flying with someone that can, help you and you're not doing this on your own, so to speak. Older children, flying with them, take something for them to do, talk about where you're going, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think they're going to enjoy the novelty of it and, being able to see and adventures on a plane and, all that goes with that and explore the bathroom, that kind of thing. So in those moments, I tend to be very reserved and no, you can just stay seated. But you know what? It's a plane. Not everybody's going to get to go on a plane. Walk them back there. Okay, we're going to walk. And you've seen it. You have some control in the situation, but they're children, and that's a big deal, and it's something out of the ordinary, so you're making memories with your child, and that's the most important part, and they're going to remember those experiences with you more than the trinkets you're going to buy when you get to wherever you're going. So I hope that helps. Again, there's not always an answer for everything, but it's more about being prepared and being ready and primed to deal with something that may come up. So, yeah. All right. So the last thing I wanted to share with you tonight is a story, and it's actually a story about my own children. And, I definitely want you as parents to enjoy what you're doing, and I want you to know that you are there to lead them, you are there to guide them, and that being on them is not being harsh. Being on them, being on top of what they're doing is for their best interest. And you're doing that so that the drama that you have to deal with in life and the difficulties that come in life don't come in spades because you're adding to it because you have kind of perpetuated this notion of selfishness, and we've got some very selfish people in this world, and we have a serious lack of commitment in this world, and we're kind of turned upside down. So I want for my own children, look, I love you and you're great and I love you more than any person on this planet, your father and I. But it is not all about you. And when you get out there, you need to know that. And you need to be ready to contribute. You need to be ready to do something that's going to make a difference in this world, not just be self-serving. And I think we've kind of gone that way. So in doing that, you have to be, again, so stinking predictable that they can smell you a mile away and they know exactly what you're going to say because you have been that consistent. And that consistency starts when they are itty bitty. So they get it. They know they don't even have to ask because they've already been there, done that. And they can, vary from one situation to the other. Well, if this happened here, it's definitely going to happen this way, so we don't even need to bother kind of thing. But all that being said, I think, from time to time, we got to throw them a curveball. We got to keep them guessing, so to speak, and let them know that, when we have all these conversations, I was a child too. I get it. I understand. And, they tend to think that's hogwash and they don't always believe us. But you got to have moments where you really show them, yeah, that really was, true. We really were children. We weren't always mom and dad. So my children, several years ago, they're teenagers now, but we were in Mass General, and I don't know where all of you are if you're familiar with this, but it's like one of each, please, and I'll share with a friend. I love this store. It's clothes, it's shoes, it's, country housewares and grits and a bag and, whatever. Anyway, but old school toys and things like that and giant barrels of candy. So there's this whole section that has barrels of old candies and things like that. So can we get something? Sure, you can pick out one thing. So I'm over here and I'm looking at, houseware stuff. And my children come over and my daughter comes over first and she's got a bag of gummies or something. I don't know what it was. And I said, okay. So my son comes over and he's got his hand cupped like this, he's down by his side. And in it, he has cupped a pack of candy cigarettes. And so he stands beside me and he just kind of does one of these and shows me. And I looked down at it and I said, I laughed and I said, okay. And my daughter's face, I wish I could have recorded it. She did one of these. Hold up. He can get that? And I thought I was going to bust a gut. And I said, yes. And she made a beat like she didn't even wait for me to say, you can go get one too. She went back and got one. And before you flip out and, oh, you're teaching your kids to smoke. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't smoke, never smoked a day in my life, whatever. But candy cigarettes were fun. And when we were little, they had a little bit of powder and they blew it out when you could do it or whatever. So whatever. It was fun. Anyway. So we get to this register and I guess they thought, woman has lost her mind because this was so out of character, for anything that I would have done that they were like jonesing. So I couldn't get them paid for fast enough and they are ripping off the cellophane, throwing it in the trash can behind the counter. Well, this store is located on Main Street downtown. So we're parked on the street and we're going out the store and they have whipped them out and honey, they are smoking going down Main Street and I'm about to die. So we get in the car and they are just having a ball and they said, Mama, these really don't taste good. I said, no, they don't. But it was so funny and I have laughed about that. But what made it even better was I got to church the next whatever, I don't know if it was Sunday night or Wednesday night, and I was telling one of the older members of our church, very, very starched, very just walking right there with Jesus, and I told him the story, and to my surprise, so, this was kind of a generational kind of thing, he said, you had those too when you were little. I said, I did. He goes, and they were fun, weren't they? I said, they were fun. So we laughed, and I just thought, you know what? You've got to interject more of those moments. I'm not saying every week. I'm not saying every month. But every once in a while, break character. Throw them a curveball and just let them, just let them be. Just have their little moment. And those are the things they're going to remember. You get to make that connection and let them know, it was... that was me. I was a kid. I did that, and it was fun. And, it was a moment to share with them. So I wanted to share that with you, and I hope you're having fun with your kids. I hope you are enjoying them. You're not stressing, and I hope you're enjoying your spouses. Next week, I'll share with you my wreath story. I think I mentioned that a while back, but pay attention to each other. Pay attention to your spouse for your children. Let them see, because they're watching that too. We're going to talk about that next week. And, have fun with them. Have fun with your kids. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Hopefully everybody's not going berserk. Thanks you guys for joining in. And I see a couple of them. I see my niece there. And yeah, my niece, who's she talking to? Hey, Sophia. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and another little boy we used to have, so very cool. I'm excited. Our little ones are listening. So we're finishing up the summer. I'll be doing a couple of teacher events. I'm real excited to connect with my people. Those are my people. I'll be doing a conference in North Augusta next week, and then we've got some homeschool conferences and teachers local that I'll be working with. And then in the fall, we're going to crank back up, and we have a marriage series that's going to be starting at Mount Hebron United Methodist. It's an 8-week series. We'd love for you to join us. It's going to be from 10 to 11, and we're booking for the fall and the winter for 2018 already. Can't believe it. So if you've got a group, if you've got just some friends, or your church, whatever, if you'd like for us to come and share with you and speak to you and have fun and laugh with you, I'd be happy to come and talk to you. So get in touch with us, and as always, keep your questions coming, and we'll see you back here next Thursday night. Thanks so much.